Good morning, everybody. Apologies for a little bit of a delay. Our Los Angeles studio was having technical difficulties. I would just like to say good morning to Tua. She's online. She's saying good morning, beautiful people.
Good morning.
So welcome, Emma, to this fourth show. You are my fourth guest.
Yay!
Today I wanted to just chat to you about you've just finished your fifth semester as an international student, and I just wanted to chat to you about how that was going, how you're experiencing life as a student. You left here after having, I think, a year, no, almost a year of waiting. You started school in September 2018, matriculated in 2017. So I just wanted you to chat to our viewers and listeners about going okay, setting up all on your own has been for you. I get a lot of questions about the fact that you are living there by yourself. Um, with no family around, and how are you coping and all of those things. So I thought it best that you get on here and answer the questions, because we have kind of adapted along the way to this trans world experience. So I thought I just want to hear from your perspective and get you to answer people's queries, questions. um, We still waiting for people to hop on, but I think we can start a conversation and just get it going. So over to you, young lady.
Well, first of all, first of all, thank you for having me on the show.
You're welcome. I must say that you insisted and asked, "Where's
Yeah,
my invite?"
yeah, I did because I was like, it's my mom's show. You'd think I'd be invited, but it's okay. It's okay. No, um, I think it's a good show. So thank you for having me.
You're
And
welcome.
Um, in terms of in terms of coming out to LA, I always kind of knew, I think growing up that was what I wanted to do, and I knew that I wanted to be an actress, and that I wanted to come and pursue that in the US, and so it was kind of something that I had been preparing for my entire life, whether I knew it or not. Whether I was conscious of it, it was something that I was preparing for, and so when the opportunity came, I was very excited to do it. I remember when I first told everyone I was going, a lot of my mom's friends were all like, "How?" They were like, "Okay, but how are you going to do that on your own?" And I was like, "I'll be fine." I didn't necessarily know at the time how I would be fine, but it is in my nature to kind of just take everything in my stride, so I did. Um, and I mean, it's been I've been here for a year now. Just like I've been here for over a year, and it's definitely been something new. It's been something that I've had to adapt to. But I think the most important thing that I've realized is that it's not that I don't have family here, because I do. These, I've met these incredible people along the way that have become my family. And so I do have family here. It's just, it's just a different type of family. And so there are people that I can count on for a lot of things here. And that's kind of what's kept me here. And then I also do FaceTime my mom every day. So so
Yeah.
that helps.
Ada says hello. So I'm saying just
Hi.
good morning. Um, I think I just want to talk a little bit more about the adaptations that we had to do. I think coming from South Africa, what were the like the biggest, or what stood out for you as the things that you had to adapt to quickly?
Um, I think I remember coming here and I remember going, it was my first day of college, and I came from a very small school, and there were so many people when I first came here, and I was like, these there's a lot of people here. I don't know how I'm gonna. And I'm not used to being the new kid because I'd been at the same school up till grade 12, and so I had no idea how to be how to be a new kid, or for lack of a better term, and so I had to adapt to that. And then I found that because we were all from different parts of the world, I think that's the coolest thing, is we all had to adapt to each other. And so it was kind of fun to figure out, oh, this person's from this place, and so I'm not the only one. I think the one thing I did have to do, obviously, was I was the only blind kid, and so that made it very interesting. But it kind of was helped me make friends because I was a little different, and so they all were like, "Huh, well, she's different from us. Like, what's up with that?" So it was kind of fun because I then got to answer a lot of people's questions, and then they were just like, "Oh, well, you're cool." So it did. It was it was pretty interesting. And then obviously in terms of classes, I had to adapt to the fact that people wanted to help me, which was very interesting. I didn't. People are really nice. I found some really nice people here, but it there's a lot of different things I had to adapt to in many different areas. But I think it was all just about trying to. Definitely, the first thing I had to adapt to was all the different people that I now had to interact with.
I think the thing for us that I found was that there were so many South Africans.
Yes. Yeah, one of my best friends right now is actually South African, and we found out that she had gone to school with another friend of mine. And so the fact that we didn't know each other before we came here is very interesting. I have two friends like that. They've gone to school with friends of mine or friends, sisters of mine, and now we're all in America, and the three of us are now friends, and so it's very interesting.
Pumzile also says good morning. Hi, Pumzile.
Good morning.
I just think I want to know a little bit more about these adaptations. Obviously, being the first blind student, sorry, no child anymore, student at the college. Um, how have they assisted? I know we've had some pretty hair-raising adventures ourselves, as I have become your virtual assistant. Which was very interesting in itself. I got to learn Google Classroom and all of those things, and that's been
MLA.
wonderful. And MLA format and all of that. For those of you who don't know, MLA is a college format in which how you've got to write reports and things like that, and it's a little bit. It's very different to South Africa, and obviously the US grammar is different.
Yeah.
So that was a big change for me. I was very irritated when the lecturer started correcting our grammar because they followed the American system. I just want to talk about those adaptations because for me as a parent, they've been a little bit more, I don't want to say advanced, but more creative. I I didn't expect the kind of things that you had to face. I mean, the classic one was the watching of the silent movies.
It is a story I will never forget.
I think share that with listeners and viewers because that was like I think our first experience of the art world.
Yeah, I mean, we had prior, like, little minor experiences where we'd had to figure out how to do things, but I think the silent movies was something that didn't we I don't know if anyone kind of expected it was coming. I guess, like, we kind of knew at some, maybe back deep down, that obviously history of film, there would be silent movies, but I didn't think we knew to the extent that it would happen. And so my second semester, I I had entered my film art class, and so basically, film art is like the history of film, obviously, and the history of cinema. So I was sitting there, and my teacher was reading the syllabus, and he was kind of explaining what we were going to do for the semester. And then, I was listening and everything, and my friends were listening, and we were just like, okay, cool. This sounds kind of cool. And then at some point he goes, yeah, and then we'll get to the coming of sound. So now I'm thinking, okay, something doesn't sound right here, because this means that before then, like, we're doing silent movies. And keep in mind, we had to watch a movie every week and then write a little, like a 300-word reflection on that film. So, so I was like, oh boy. And so at the after that, I woke up to him and was like, hey sir, I had a question. So you mentioned that in, say, week 7 or 8 or whatever, we were going to get to the coming of sound. And so I just wanted to know that obviously means that, the first 6 or so weeks were going to be silent movies. And he's like, yes, the first 6 or 7 weeks will be silent, and then we'll come to the coming of sound. And bless his sweet soul. So I go, oh, so how are we gonna do this? And he's like, yeah, but don't worry, they have the little captions, with the cards. And I go, oh no, that's great. Yeah, I don't know what, like, those little title cards.
Yeah.
And so I go, oh, that's great, but I can't see, like, a thing. I see nothing. And he just goes, oh. And we're like, oh. The accessibility lady was kind of not impressed that he had neglected to tell her that half his class was silent movies. But I don't think he realized that I was completely blind. And so, because as soon as he was like, don't worry, we'll figure it out. I'll email them and we'll figure it out. And so we eventually did. And, someone watched the silent movies with me, and Mom got to watch one of them with me, which was pretty fun. And so they would basically sit and describe the movie to me as it was going on. It was very creative how they were able to do that, because, they obviously had to make it entertaining for me. So to everyone who did that, thank you. But yeah, it was kind of fun, and I actually ended up enjoying silent movies. I didn't think I would, but
I think, yes, our experience, I had to read the subtitles because the movie was in French, if I remember, or some foreign language.
Oh yeah, that was another one. Yeah, that was the
And
one we watched was the Buster Keaton one, The General.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And then I had to watch that. Ada says, wow, Emma, this is amazing. Are you the only blind student in your class? And how have the teachers adapted?
Oh, this is fun. Yes, I'm the only blind student. Yes, I'm the only blind student in my class. And my teachers,
I think you must say that you're not only the only blind student in your class, you're the only blind student at the school, and the first one ever.
So yeah. It's quite a story. But in terms of my teachers, I think not that it's shocking in that necessarily, but it's very, I guess it's nice, and it's very surprising how creative and how accommodating these people are, and how we've had to, the silent movies is one thing, but we've had a lot of different experiences with different teachers where they have these creative ways of trying to figure out. I had to do math, and my math teacher was kind of like, we're gonna figure this out. And I had to do geometry, and so this, they got someone to kind of help me. She created the shapes using different, like, tactile things, and she kind of tried to make it so that I could understand what it was. And they sat and explained things to me, and it took a little while, because obviously it's geometry, and it's a different thing for someone who can't see. But they worked so hard to try and get me to do that, and in the end, I kind of actually enjoyed doing math. And then I remember helping my classmates with some of the work at some point, and my teacher was just standing there like, yeah, see, she's doing it.
Well, it was kind of fun. Please tell them a little bit about your maths teacher, because I think it's very interesting that this was not only just the subject of maths, but the other interesting things about him, like where he's from.
Well, yeah, I mean he's Russian, and so obviously there's I wouldn't necessarily. Well, I mean, maybe there was, but I think the language barrier wasn't necessarily as much of a struggle as I thought it would be. He's very clear in what he says. I think I think the only thing is sometimes he'd like forget that couldn't I couldn't see what he was trying to explain, because he would go, "Oh yes," and then you just do this, and he would like point on the paper, just because he I guess was easier to show like visually, and so that sometimes happened. But I mean, he was very sweet, and he did explain. And sometimes when I think the nice thing about the people I surround, I'm lucky to be surrounded by, is that when so my teachers are, they're very helpful and stuff. And then when they struggle, my classmates jump in. So he would explain something, and if I didn't understand it, my classmate would come and say, "Oh, okay, this is what he's trying to say. I'll explain it to you in a way that maybe you can understand this less visual." And so they kind of all work together, which was really nice to try and figure out how to do that. So it was fun.
I'm going to ask you a little bit of a difficult question. Do you think any of the stuff that you have learned about, accommodations for blind people in America would be useful for us to implement? This is a very serious question. I mean, you don't have to give me an answer, but I think it's something that you need to think about. Is it something that you think we can implement in South Africa? Because I know, I mean, from my experience with you, the level of support that we have gotten from teachers are a little bit different. They, like you say, more creative. But is it something that you think that can be implemented in South Africa? I know you said no difficult questions, but I'm just asking because, I mean, of your own experience. I don't want you to give me a whole treatise, just high level.
I think,
is it difficult
as a teacher? No.
Oh.
I think as a teacher, you're like, when you sign up to be a teacher, you kind of sign up to teach students, and everyone learns differently. And I think that's the thing that they just did, was that they realized that I could still learn the same things, but I would just do it differently from my classmates. And that didn't mean that I couldn't do it. It just meant that they'd have to adapt it so that I could do it. And then I did. And so that was, I think it can be implemented with the right mindset and with the right, because it's all creativity. And I think that's what they were going off of, is how can we creatively make this an experience for her? And then they did, and it's a lot about support and a lot about the willingness to do it. That makes all the difference. So yeah, I think with the right mindset, it can be implemented.
And I don't think any of your teachers have been specifically trained in accessibility, right?
No.
Okay. So, Emma, there's been, I'm sorry, that was my only difficult question. There's been quite a lot of, I mean, acting itself is visual. So there's quite a lot of interest in how do you actually, Ada asks, how do you do your class tests and exams?
So
I just want to read you some of the comments in. I laughed when Emma spoke about the caption thing regarding the silent movies. Your daughter does have a sense of humor when narrating. That's from Sua.
Thank you.
Roanne says, I love this. Roanne is Andrea's mom, your maths tutor. Say hi to Andrea.
Yes.
Roanne. And Ada says, well
Please
done to your teachers. Our school teachers can really learn a thing or two do you do your class tests and exams verbally? And then Evelyn says mindset and willingness 100%. So
Thank you. um,
um,
and I do. I think my
okay. Answer. How do you do your class tests and exams verbally? How do you do your class tests and your exams?
my class tests and exams. So basically what happens is they'll let the accessibility officers know that I'm taking a test. So whichever teacher that is, and then I will take it. Usually, sometimes it happens a little differently where I'll have to take it at a different time. But usually, I'll take it at the same time as my classmates. I'll just take it in a different room, and then I'll have someone read the question for me, and then I'll tell the person what the answers are, and then that person will just write it down. Um, and that's basically how I do it.
So, um, so like I was saying, I mean, the fascination really has been around acting for film and television is such a visual, is such a visual art. It really depends on much of how you see things and perception. And I think for me the questions that I get a lot is how do you, because you can't see, how do you interpret emotions and what your characters need, and you learn your lines and things like that. So how do you do it? Because that's a question I have difficulty answering as the mom, because I'm the one helping you learn your scripts, your lines and things like that. But it's more the emotion. How do you get that? How do you get that across?
Um, I mean, I I don't really. I think in terms of learning lines, I realized that I have a very good memory. Uh, so learning lines is pretty. I pick them up pretty quickly. I don't think I realized how much how true that was until I came here and we had to like do a cold read of a scene. So it's basically like the teacher kind of just gives you the scene and then you read it. You're in it and whoever else is in the scene with you. And they were all reading the same scene, and I was like, "Hey, can I go outside for a second and try and see if I can remember it?" It took me 10 minutes, and then I came back and I went lost, and I apparently had gotten all the lines down. So I didn't. My teacher was like, "That's impressive," and I was like, "Well, okay, thanks." um, so that was something that I learned. And then in terms of like emotions and stuff, I think um, a lot of a lot of it is I you have to kind of be observant of emotion. We all feel emotions, and it I the one thing I am learning is how to physicalize it more, because I do feel the emotion. Sometimes I just don't show it. But we do a lot of exercises in terms of that, and for all of us as to how we can truthfully bring about the emotions and how to physicalize them more. And I've learned a lot from that. But that's basically what it is. It's a lot of exercises and a lot of techniques and a lot of memory work and all the different acting style, or acting stuff that you can kind of do, and that kind of plays into how we all learn it and how I've been able to pick it up.
Okay, I think the one thing that also is very interesting is that some of um, your teachers are also very active in the film industry. Um, so how has that impacted? Like, I remember you
Um,
saying the one has directed this, the other one has edited this, and those kind of questions. How do you how are they in real life?
I think. I mean, no, they're obviously very in the know about what it is that they do, and so because they've done all these things, they're able to help us, and so that's pretty great. But I also think it's very cool. An example that my one of my teachers directed an episode for a Disney show, and so that, I mean, he was teaching us sitcoms, so that was very exciting because he kept referring to it, and so it was kind of like, we knew that he knew what he was talking about, and then I actually got to see when that episode aired. So that was kind of cool because I was like, oh my gosh, that's my teacher, like he did that. So there have been those moments, but I think the fact that they're also doing, that they're passionate about what they're doing, and they know about the industry, so they know how to teach us, and they know how to kind of mentor us into becoming what we want to be. So that is pretty cool.
Ada wants to know, what made you want to go into film and not a different industry?
Um,
What do you... The camera's okay, Missy.
I was. Oh no, I'm adjusting because something happened to my phone. My bad.
Oh, okay.
I hope it like holds up. I don't know what's. I don't remember wanting to do anything else. That's my like honest answer. I know my mom wanted me to be a lawyer really badly, and I'm here to say that I'm sorry. That was just not my calling, I guess. But I don't know. I don't remember ever wanting to do anything else, and I think that's just, yeah. I genuinely have always wanted to do this. So I don't think it gets. I know it's probably like a boring answer, but like I don't. That was always what I wanted to do. I've always been passionate about it.
Yeah, well, I think, Ada, I think it was more about acting and performing. She loves performing. She's loved doing that from a young age. So I think it wasn't film specifically, but more broader acting. She's been exposed to drama and theater and everything. And even though it's called acting for film and television, I think you do theater as well, eh? Ems?
Yes, we do some theater as well.
Yeah, so it's just acting with a focus on film and television. Ems, now you've got 3 semesters left. This year has gone very quickly. I mean, you halfway through more than 3/4 way through your course, because it ends next year, right?
Yes, in May.
Oh, okay. So what next?
I guess I've got to find some acting jobs. Yeah, I plan on kind of looking for roles and trying to, pursue my career, because that's what I've been working towards, and I am going to use all the tools that I've been given over the last 3 years to kind of create my own success. So, yeah.
Ems, we here in South Africa just getting into the online space and stuff like that. And I know that you've been doing online school for most of this semester due to quarantine.
Yes.
How has that impacted on your learning experiences?
So we do online classes through Zoom right now. I mean, it was crazy because we had they were trying to figure out how to do it, because it is film school and it is acting. So they were like, what are we gonna do? We can't do scenes. We can't, like, how is this gonna work? And they didn't have a lot of time to figure it out. And then we had to kind of move online. And I just remember, in terms of my personal experience, one of my friends, I think the day before they told us we were going online the next week, We were standing outside, and I was like, what's gonna happen to me because I'm gonna struggle with Zoom. And she's like, it's okay, don't worry, like you've got us, and also you. I think the teachers are gonna. They're at least we've got good teachers, and they're gonna help you. And I take that and say that that is the only way I was able to finish the semester. Is because we were all supportive of each other, but they were all like, even with all the changes. I mean, we had to do physical things in technique and scene study, for example. And obviously now my teacher couldn't show me them because we're online, and so she was able to teach it in such a way. She tried to explain it, and the things that she couldn't do, there was the leniency there, and we all kind of just figured out how to do the different things. And then Zoom. I mean, Zoom is Zoom. Technical difficulties. Like we had a couple teachers who they accidentally disappeared once. I don't. And then we were like, where are they? Like, what happened? And we've had. I mean, I've had a couple of times where I couldn't be seen, and then we had to figure out how that worked. People frozen, but we worked it out. Online is that's kind of just how it is, I guess. So yeah.
So I know it's after midnight in LA right now. So thank you for staying up. Ada says, what? Okay, we've answered that. Evelyn says it's always nice to hear about Emma's time at uni, and she sends you a kiss.
Thank you.
Any last comments? Any last comments? Things that you want to say? Thank you for.
Thanks for having me on the show. It's always really fun to kind of share experiences like this because they are unique. But I am very grateful that I've got, the people that I'm grateful that I am able to be surrounded by the people that I'm surrounded by. And that's what's made my experience great so far.
Oh yeah, Ada says, please tell us, your mom says you edit her videos. How do you do that, and how do you find the programs, especially that it's all visual?
I mean, I think I remember trying to kind of explain this on another video as well, or on another live that we had done. It's very I've always been interested in editing, but a couple semesters ago I took an editing class, and it was also one of those things where there was a sign up class, and I was like, hey, I emailed the accessibility people, and I was like, so curious question. Do you think, because I want to take this class, do you think I can take it? And she was like, yeah. The beautiful thing about me and her is that she's now we're always very optimistic on that I can do whatever it is that gets thrown at me. We will find a way, and so we always have. So this was no different. And so I basically we sorted that out, and the teacher was very willing to teach me once again. So thank you. And he kind of sat with me, and he showed me how to use this program called Avid. And there's a lot of keyboard shortcuts, and so I was able to do that. And as it stands now, I can edit on that program with supervision because there are some things that are visual, obviously, and someone needs to kind of sit with me. But I'm able to mostly do it myself. But it has helped me use the programs on my phone, which is like iMovie, and the other one I use is Adobe Clips sometimes. And I use the tools and the editing techniques that I learned from him. I use them to edit videos, and so I can edit my mom's videos and mine, and other videos, and that's kind of how I do that. But yeah.
And then Marinette says, teacher Marinette says, we missed you.
Hi. I miss you guys
too. So yeah, it was great chatting to you. Always great chatting to you in this environment and sharing experiences with the rest of the people who ask me all about you.
Thank you.
And my last question to you is, I know that growing up you were very hesitant to be the role model. I can't not ask you this question. Because you've definitely done things very differently to what is standardly expected of a blind person. How do you feel about that kind of role? Because I always tell you that you have a responsibility to, to show people how it's done.
I feel like when I was younger, I didn't necessarily want that responsibility because I didn't want the pressure. Because there's a lot of pressure that comes with something like that, whether whether you notice it or not, whether you want or whether people realize it. It's there's a lot of pressure, and right now I'm kind of at a point where I'm like, I want to. It's only pressure if the people that if your environment makes it pressure. And so the environment that I'm in right now, they kind of just, it's very supportive, and it's kind of like there's no, we're all just figuring it out, but they're all there when I need support, or whenever I struggle with something. And when I don't, there's I've got the people that will be the first people to go like, oh my gosh, you did that and that was amazing and we're proud of you and all that stuff. And so it's kind of that balance where I guess maybe growing up, there were a lot of people that were like, oh, you can't do that and you can't do that. So I felt like if I did, then it would be, they always looked at me as like, it was kind of this pressure thing. Whereas now I'm like, I want to be able to do this, and I want to be able to inspire other people to do the things that I've done. And so it's all about the people you surround yourself with and the environment that you kind of end up in. And I think that's what changed.
Ompele says hello and is enjoying this immensely.
Oh!
And then, so that's wonderful. Sending love right back, Manana. Ada says, I want to meet you. I want to meet you. You have inspired us today. You have just proved that anyone can do anything if you put your mind to it. Well done, Emma, and never give up or let anyone bring you down. Have a lovely evening, sweet child.
Thank you. You guys are all so sweet.
And then Chatua says,
thank you.
Add on to what your mum has said to show people how it's done, and that is doable. Jackie says, I really admire you, Emma. You're an inspiration. Keep on smiling. You're beautiful. So thank you for all those lovely messages.
Thank you.
I think, Emma, the purpose of starting
so
the show, the purpose of starting the show was to give some hopeful optimism to the world in this time. I didn't want it to be a documentary or anything like that. For those of you watching, this is just to inspire and motivate us to keep going. It's been really difficult during COVID and just being away. So, it is great. Let's see who else is saying it. Chatua says, Emma is such an inspiration to even us adults that if we put our minds to it, we can do it. Marinette says, Teacher Mnet says, hats off to mom and courage can do anything. And that's what you've been living out since the day I've met you. Thanks, ladies. Ada says, Suzanne, well done to you too. You've done such a wonderful job. It's really been a team effort. I must say, when Emma was born, I had no clue what I was going to do. All I knew is that I wanted to bring up a child, and a child first. And that's been my philosophy. I'm very obviously proud of what Emma has done, and continues to do, because even she always tries to do her best. And well, I must tell you as a last thing that she is going to study law this next semester. She's going to do entertainment.
I'm doing entertainment law as an elective.
And she said, that's just for me, Mom. So
I mean
So I think that's kind of cool. So we'll be doing that together. But thank you very much for tuning in. Thanks, Emma, for coming on the show and for asking to come onto the show, and talk about it. I think it's been really inspirational and motivational. Some of us, it's difficult to get through a day, and to listen to you and to hear that your mindset and how you put determination is really motivational. Even as your mom, I draw inspiration
Thank
from
you.
you
Well,
sometimes. Because if you can keep going, then I can keep going. So
thank you.
have a wonderful evening, and thank you, ladies, and whoever's watching, for joining us today. It was really, really nice having you on.
Thank
Stuart,
you.
you are my person. Thank you so much for sharing these awesome mother moments with us. It's a pleasure to tour. As I said, the aim with this program is to give us all hope and motivate us to keep growing, because it is very difficult times. And even when things are so called normal, we do need hope and inspiration in our lives. So wonderful to be with you this morning. Thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Bye. Say bye, Ems.
Bye. Bye.